Well, hello, White Sox fans. Hope you guys are doing just great. Welcome to another edition of White Sox Daily Live. My name is Ian Eskridge. I'm here with my co host, the Danny Miller. Hello, Danny.
Hello, Ian. How are you this evening?
You know, we're just, it's in the title of the stream. We're just kind of grinding through the season, huh? It's been a rough
Oh,
one.
I don't know if grind is even the right word, man. I mean, it has definitely been a grind. Whether we're talking about you know, the team itself or just being a fan has been quite the grind. We've talked about it a little bit here, a lot. I should say, not so much a little, a lot over the last month and a half or so, more than the rest of the season combined. I would say about how difficult it's been to watch a team that's supposed to be in the heart of their competitive window, but mental health is it's waning every day as a White Sox fan. Although I like to think that maybe the sell off at the trade deadline signaled something. We'd said that signaled direction. We're not sure exactly what that direction is, other than we failed without saying so much, and here we go again. But anywho, uh, anything new and exciting in your world this week, man?
No, not really. Just getting through. Did some shows over the weekend. That was nice. Other than that, not really a whole lot. Hey, Pusher, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in.
Evening,
Um,
buddy.
yeah, not really anything too crazy. You know. Yeah, I mean it's just kind of the summer's winding down, and we've been hoping for years that this was going to be the contention window, and this year's been rough, man. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's been pretty awful. And
No, it has. Yeah, continue. I'm sorry.
no, it's fine. I mean, I don't. I don't know what do you even say. I mean, they're like what 24 games or 25 games under 500 at this point.
Yeah,
How did
yeah.
It's like how did it even get to this point? How did culture in the locker room get so bad that it derailed the team to negative 25 games? you know,
I
it's
still blame
insane.
the TLR hire. That's when
Yeah.
everything went down. I mean, the arrow was pointing up. We had the back-to-back playoff appearances for the first time in team history, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in 2020 and 2021. And you bring in TLR, who is supposed to be this seasoned veteran Hall of Fame manager who's known to be a little bit of a tough guy and an analytically driven manager, and we got this almost opposite of that when he came here. He became uber soft, and he seemed to throw analytics just out the window. And you know, with his softness, the players seem to get softer, and everything's been downhill since. So you tell me where it went wrong. I feel like that's where it went wrong. We'd only won one game in each of those two playoff series that the White Sox went to. Sure, fine. But we had a roster that we were told over and over again, and everybody in baseball believed that they could be contenders. There wasn't a show I could turn on MLB Network that wasn't talking about how the White Sox showed so much potential, and on paper they looked great, and they had all these rising, budding superstars. And you know, we it just all fell flat on its face. You can blame injuries, you can blame, you know, piss poor coaching, but it really started, in my opinion, the moment it was announced that Tony La Russa was to be the next White Sox manager.
So, do you think there is any shot whatsoever that Pedro Grifol is not here next year? Bar-
Do I think
barring
he's
barring Rick Hahn being fired. If
oh
he gets
I
fired, then all bets are off. But if Rick Hahn's here next year, is Pedro Grifal here?
you know what? I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think there's about an 80% chance that Pedro Grafal gets a second chance. It's just the way this team is operated for so long that everybody is worthy of a second shot, right? And again, Pedro Grafal goes into that meeting in the offseason, the end of this year, and they say, hey, why should we keep you? What's going on? And he says, I just need the team that I can contend with. Give me a team that I can play with. Give me a team that will buy into my philosophies and my rules and the tone that I'm willing to set for this team. And for Jerry Reinsdorf and Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn, that might be enough to save his job after falling completely flat on their faces this season.
Hmm.
What do you think? Do you think? I mean, do you think he's one and done?
I don't. I mean, I would at this point with how bad this team has been, I would like to think that that would be a possibility. But the issue here is that I don't know if they've got the stones to do it, you know, and admit that the hire was not a good hire. And I mean, it's like as soon as the trade deadline passed, I mean, you did get swept by the Rangers right out of the gate. But then you took 2 out of 3 from the Guardians, and then you took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. But then this last one happened, this last series, and then you get swept by the Brewers. And a couple of them were close, but then the last one was not so close.
Yeah. What was yesterday? Was a 7-0?
7-3. Yeah.
7-3.
Yeah.
So I guess I stopped paying attention once it got to 7-0. I didn't realize the Sox actually scored any runs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like okay, so the Brewers have a halfway decent record.
Yeah.
They're not exactly world beaters, but if the season were to end right now, they'd be right on the verge of making the playoffs, I believe.
I think they're first
Uh,
place. Aren't they first place in
are
the?
they now? They are leading the division in the
Yeah,
NL
I think
Central.
they are.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're correct. Sorry about that. Actually, the reason I was thinking that is because I was hanging out with some fans of the Northside team this weekend, and they were all screaming at me, why can't your White Sox help us out? For the one time that Cubs fans were actually rooting for the White Sox, and they couldn't do anything. But either way, I feel like that was a team that the White Sox could have beaten, should have beaten, and just like the rest of the season, they did not. And there's been a lot of that where we play against, and when I say we, I mean the White Sox, obviously, but that you go out there and you think, well, you've got Dylan Cease starting. White Sox have the potential to win any game that this guy goes out and takes the mound. You got Michael Kopech starting. They absolutely have the potential to go out and win any game that guy starts. And we get nothing. We get nothing. We get mistakes. We get errors. We get you know guys left on base. And the one thing is they did actually score some runs. They've been putting up some offensive numbers here lately, even in losing efforts. Like again, like aside from that 7-3 game yesterday, but they find new ways to lose all the time, and it's really difficult to continue showing interest in the product that we're being given on a daily basis.
Yeah. One of the things. So a quote just came across yesterday about Corey Lee down in AAA from Pedro Grifal, and he said that Corey Lee, with the glove, he looks good. With the bat, he's gotten some hits with the bat, um, but the rhythm isn't there yet, is what he said, and that we should see him here soon in Chicago. So my guess is that literally the only thing that they're waiting for is for Sebi to come back from the injured list, and then I am almost certain that Grandal is going to get launched into the sun, and then they're going to bring up Corey Lee as a
You know,
corresponding move.
I did see that, and I kind of had the same thought. And my only issue with that is, why are we waiting for Sebi? Because they can pretty much send him on his way too.
Well, I mean, they got Carlos Perez. I mean, they got Carlos Perez up there as the backup right now. And I will say, you know, Corey Lee down there in AAA, one thing that he is, and if this system comes to Major League Baseball, this guy's going to make bank. This guy using challenges on strikes and balls, ridiculous. It's like every single one that he challenges is right every single time. It's like clockwork. It's pretty awesome. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see we'll see what happens. You know, Pusher says the Cubs are on fire at this point in time. Yeah, they're.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
a team not even thought to be in the hunt for playoffs, and what they ripped off like 18 of their last 24 or something.
Yeah. And, you know, Nick Madrigal's still pulling bonehead plays out there, but he's been fairly decent for him, actually. So they got something out of that Kimbrel trade, so that's nice. Something happened in the clubhouse. You don't say. Well, I'm not sure what that is, so you're gonna have to enlighten me because I don't know anything about the clubhouse over on that side of town. I will say though, I did have a coworker of mine. She went and saw Pink over at Wrigley Field and showed me video of it. Looked pretty awesome. Not gonna lie.
I have seen a show or two at Wrigley. They do they put on a decent concert there. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I heard nothing but good things about the Bruce Springsteen show.
Yeah, I saw the Foos there a few years ago, and I will say I was definitely entertained.
Yeah, I got a friend out with the Foos right now doing lights for them, so
nice.
They're gonna be at Riot Fest here in a few weeks. So kind of.
Yeah, they're cool. Headlining opening night, right? I believe
something like that. Yeah. Trade deadline was looming, and players pulled together to start winning. Yeah, no, for sure.
Imagine having a winning mentality and what that can do for you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at this point, I don't know what, you know, as a White Sox fan, I don't really know what to say. I mean,
well, I don't even know what that means as a White Sox fan.
What's that?
I said I don't even know what that means as a White Sox fan. Having a winning mentality.
Well, I mean, like my thinking here is that if you have to be motivated to come together and play baseball as a team, like you can't be helped as far as I'm concerned. Like that should be a given.
You're out there playing, you know, what they call the child's game for millions of dollars. Most of these guys, that should be motivation enough.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, you know, like you get, you know, confident in your double play combination, you know, between the shortstop and the second baseman. You know, you get comfortable there. The catcher should be in sync with the pitching staff, and that hasn't been a thing. I mean, you hear stories of Grandal going in and smacking the taste out of TA's mouth while he's sitting in a cold tub. And, you know, like, I mean, far be it from me to say that TA has been a model citizen this year. But, you know, you walk in and smack somebody in the face. I mean, regardless of whether that's, you know, Yasmani says that's not the way it went down. But, you know, it's kind of one of those things like, if that kind of stuff's happening in the clubhouse, you know, like, you know, I have to imagine, you know, Rick Hahn made so someone did get beat up this week. Apparently this was a while back. There were quotes from Rick Hahn about more or less letting the guys with the, you know, non-team mentality, essentially, those guys weeding themselves out in the coming weeks. And, with stories like this coming out, and I don't know exactly where the story came from, but I imagine that it has to be an ex-player. And my thought was an ex-player in Los Angeles, on the south side. Well, I guess technically in Orange County. That was my thought. Who has been awfully quiet, and you haven't heard him say a word about the White Sox since he's been gone. So.
No, but he sure looks like he likes playing with Shohei.
Yeah, he's still got a 9 ERA down there with the Angels. So.
No, I'm just saying, judging by said assumed players' facial expressions when sitting next to him.
Well, I mean, it's Shohei Ohtani. I mean, the guy is a force of nature. I'll give him that. The guy is phenomenal. I tried last year to hold off on the excitement about how good he is, but this year he just came out and blew the doors off, and at this point I'm just like, yeah, that guy's amazing.
Yeah, I got and it's a shame that the Angels decided not to sell at the deadline, and then went out and bought a couple of guys, and it went like 7-0 or 0-7 before finally getting a win after trade deadline or whatever it was, something ridiculous. And they're here they are, they're losing again tonight to the Rangers, 6-0. Apparently they felt like they could make a push, and it hasn't worked out that way for them. But could you imagine being an Angels fan and having possibly the two best players in the game over the last 20 years on the same roster and not being able to do anything?
Yeah, I mean, I erased the Jay Cuda picture. I mean, that's one that I should put up, but I erased it already. But I mean, I said at the time, and I tweeted from the account, that more or less all the Angels did when they got Giolito and Reynaldo was overpay for a few days of feeling good about themselves. And I mean, that's exactly what it's shown to be, is that, as soon as that initial high wore off, they went back to being the Angels, and Lucas hasn't really provided, I mean, realistically, hasn't provided anything worth what they gave up. And I'll take Carroll. I think Carroll's batting something like 370 or something like that since we got him. Now Kai Busch, on the other hand, he's been having a rough time. I mean, basically every single pitcher that we've had that we received in those trades has had a rough time. And I don't, I mean, that happens in more so in the minors. I think when guys get moved, there's kind of just like this lull.
Yeah, there's an adjustment period, to new surroundings, new teammates, new field. You don't have that home field rubber that you're pitching off of at least half of the time. There's just a transition period.
Yeah. And you go from,
like I said last
top
week,
prospect with one organization, and you think that you're going to go play for the Angels, you're going to go play for the Dodgers, whichever team, the Astros. You think that that's where you're going to end up, and then you get traded,
and then you end up on the south side of Chicago, and you look at the team you're going to be playing for possibly, and you go, "What just happened?"
Yeah, it's a little bleak, I got to imagine.
Ooh, I'll tell you what, boy. If I, honestly, you got to feel like, though, somebody's got to be telling these guys, like, hey, man, in the Angels organization, maybe you were just going to be a number 5 in the starting rotation, or a middle reliever.
Angels. Come on. We're talking about the Angels here.
Well,
they never
I'm
have
just
any
saying.
pitching. Never.
That's true.
Except
and
for
the White
Ohtani.
Sox do.
That's it.
But if you look at the revolving door of White Sox pitching, because we never really hold on to anybody very long here. Guys don't get contracts extensions. They come here, if it's a veteran pitcher who's been in the league for a while, they get a 2 or 3 year deal. They pitch those 2 or 3 years and they're gone.
Yep.
If it's somebody who's come up through the system, they get their rookie contract and then they're gone because the White Sox are not going to pay long-term contracts for pitchers, no matter what their age. That's just how they operate. But at the same time, if you got a young kid like this, you would think, hey, the White Sox are known for developing pitchers. Maybe I can go out and make this roster and do something good, and I'll find my payday somewhere.
Yeah.
So, to keep these kids focused on their path, I think that's probably what we need to be, force feeding them at this point. But I gotta imagine the initial shock of being traded to a team that, a club, I should say, an entire organization that has just been dragged for, not being able to produce anything other than 2 playoff game wins in the 2 series since 2008 and 2005. Yeah, that's got to feel not so great.
Yeah, and for the people that are listening / watching, we were going to have a guest tonight, and he's not here tonight, but it's coming here in the near future, and gonna shed some light on some things, and should be a fairly interesting listen. So I'm looking forward to that conversation.
Just to not give away too much, I'll just say that the person that's going to be a guest has some pretty intimate knowledge about how the organization as a whole kind of works, and has some insights for us. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and we got some guests coming up in the next next 2 weeks. Other than that, gentlemen, and should be a fun couple of weeks coming up here on the stream. So
some names most people will probably recognize. All three of those names will be recognizable when they get released, and when we put that stuff out there. Your head might turn a little bit and say, "Wow, okay."
Yeah, well, all three of the names will ring a bell, except for with Pusher. Pusher will be like, "Who's that?"
Well, yeah, we're not getting anybody from the Dodgers fan base or
Cubs
anyone with
base,
who,
no.
or the Cubs fan base.
Yeah.
Sorry, Grimtall's Dodgers.
Yeah, Grimtall is a Dodger guy, but I mean, he's to be fair to Grimtall, he grew up where I am sitting right now. He grew up like 2 blocks away from me, and he was always a White Sox guy when we were younger. But he also liked the Dodgers. But there's far more to like on that on that side of the country, and the White Sox have done nothing but essentially alienate the entire fan base. So I don't blame him for being on that side of things. That said, he still does have a soft spot in his cold heart for the White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, he does check in with us on a weekly basis.
He does.
So I give him credit for that. He may have given up on the White Sox and called himself a Dodger fan, but it's obvious that he at least puts up with the White Sox enough to find his way into here and get some new information from us, or if it's any of it's even new to him, because you gotta think, man. I mean, maybe he's got it right. Maybe he's got it right. Maybe the only way to alleviate the pain that we go through as White Sox fans is to just dump them for somebody else. I won't call anybody a fair weather fan at this point for walking away. Honestly, this has been absolutely brutal.
Do you remember his prediction at the beginning of the season?
Okay.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to.
I will fill you in.
Remind me.
Yeah. And when he said it, I was like, "You are out of your mind." He said the White Sox would win as many games as the Dodgers lost. I haven't looked, but it's got to be really close. Got to be really close.
Yeah.
Man, that is something right there. You know what? Actually, right now, I'm gonna go look at that. I'm looking at the standings. Um, just so if anybody else from a different podcast is listening, our listeners are smarter than yours. So they're 71 and 46, and we are the White Sox are 47 and 72.
Literally one win less. I mean, the White Sox actually have more losses.
They have, yeah, but they do have one more win. Yeah, it's what? It's one and
Here,
one.
we got a 1 game in hand.
Jeez Louise. All right, so I guess beers are on me next time I see him because holy cow, is that close? You know. And if you're listening, I know you're not here right now, but holy cow! So
I need some Super Bowl odds from that guy, man.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
Can I get some lotto numbers while you're at it too?
Ridiculous. So Michael Kopech went out and had a stinker.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, man. You think there's a chance that you could win any game he takes the mound, and then it just not the poop.
Yeah,
Hope.
I kind of think that like something that for the entire clubhouse at this point, I think that a mental reset of sorts is needed. You know,
how do you achieve such a thing, though?
I don't know. And especially at this point in the season and with what the record is right now and with the amount of talent that they shipped out, I don't know how you reset something like that and how you right the ship at this point because the season's over. You know, at this point, the only thing that they can play for is personal, is pride in the club in general. You know, whether it be personal, whether it be as a group. It's up to Pedro to instill the culture that it's going to be for the group, you know, and it's not just going to be a personal thing because, you know, you've seen how it goes when it's an entire group of guys that are all out for personal gain, you know, and that seems to be the general consensus as to what the White Sox were for the last year and a half. And it turned out really ugly, you know, so I don't know. I don't know how you turn it around.
I mean, I just feel like that's going to be a difficult task even in the off season. You know, like you said though, there have been some turnover. There have been some guys that have been shipped out. You know, maybe some fresh blood changes that a little bit. I don't really know, but you know, it's been difficult to pinpoint one thing that went wrong. When in reality, it seems like just about everything went wrong. So how do you if you've got one thing to fix, then you focus on fixing that one thing. But when you've got everything to fix, how do you find the focus and how do you find the right type of training and teaching and relearning and refocusing and changing a mindset and an entire culture when you've got everything going wrong? That's a difficult task.
Yeah. The only way I see that happening is with some new blood and with shedding some of the old guard. Not
So
that
we bring back Billy Hamilton next year for a veteran leadership.
yeah, I mean, you know, one of my big fears here is that Elvis Andrus sticks around.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I mean, veteran leadership. He's a good presence in the clubhouse. He's a good dude. He wants to win. He's got he has won at, he's been to he went to 2 World Series with the Rangers. I think,
yeah,
if I remember correctly, the Josh Hamilton, Ron Washington days. You know, dream scenario I'll take Elvis Andrus sticking around if Ron Washington comes over.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's not going to happen, but, I would, you're talking about a guy that does fundamentals, and he's going to run these guys until they get those fundamentals down. He would immediately make Tim Anderson a better shortstop, you know?
He would make the entire infield better. That guy is quite possibly the best infielding coach to ever grace a baseball field.
Yeah, and as he says, first base is extremely hard. He would make Andrew Vaughn better at first base.
It's easy. Tell him, Wash.
It's not easy.
It's extremely difficult.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. So Jake Burger yesterday had a walk-off hit for the Florida Marlins. And with the said Marlins, in 41 at-bats, he has 13 hits. He is batting .317 with a .879 OPS and a .140 OPS plus. Now, to be honest, I do not expect that to continue, but I don't expect it to tank either. I think that he's better than he was showing here. And
so you mean he's better than a 230 hitter?
220 something? Yeah.
No, 2 whatever it was. Yeah.
2 whatever. Yeah, he's better than that. I got a pretty nasty reply to a tweet about Jake Eder having a rough outing yesterday, telling me that Jake Eder was akin to a garbage can. And
what?
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently the guy's a big Jake Burger fan. He said that the only reason to make that trade was to piss off fans, and I was like, huh?
Look, a lot of us, including myself, were big fans of Jake Burger. And I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I said last week, kid's got a great story. Obviously plays with heart. He was a fan favorite, but to say that he was traded just to make us angry. I think we were all pretty angry. We were all pretty upset about the way things were going already. They didn't need Jake Burger to do that.
Yeah, we were already less than pleased with the direction of the baseball club this season. That said, Jake Eder hasn't been great since he came over, and for the most part, he's been okay. He's been having consistency issues. But see, here's the thing that you have to take in context. The guy came from Vanderbilt, went straight to AA. Had a 1.92 ERA with a .98 WHIP in like 110 innings. Had a 99 K to I think 27, maybe it was 24 walks. So it was a 4-to-1 ratio of strikeouts to walks. And then he needed Tommy John surgery. And then he's pitched 41 innings since Tommy John. I don't know what you know about Tommy John surgery, but it is not a comfortable surgery, and it takes some time to rehab. And to expect him to come out and pitch how he did, and then to complain about how a 25-year-old hasn't made it past AA. Yeah. I mean, there's just some silliness going on here, and people are getting over emotional about things. And I understand. It's easy to get emotional about the direction of the club because they've been awful this year. But
you mean to tell me that the folks on White Sox Twitter are having knee-jerk reactions? You don't say. That's wild.
Yeah, something completely, I can't believe it. Totally out of character.
Right.
Yeah, so the White Sox ended up in that Kopech game. They ended up losing 7-6. Kopech goes 4.1, only allows 5 hits, but he does walk 5, and he strikes out 4. One of the things that he said to the press contingent afterwards is that he's just tired of talking about how he's, continuing to more or less, paraphrase here, how he's continuing to grind and trying to stay in the moment and trying to go one batter at a time, blah, blah, blah. He's, got all these cliches, and he's tired of talking about it, And, when we talk about mental reset, I think he's one of those guys that just needs some time off from the game for a little while, especially after this awful season. Brian Shaw relieves him, gives up 2 more runs. He needs to be relieved of his position. To be honest, he wasn't good in Charlotte. And then they brought, which isn't entirely surprising considering that the park does not hold the ball very well.
No, and, if you're a fly ball pitcher,
yeah,
you're going to get dinged up.
Yeah, and then he comes up here and he's doing the exact same thing. Bummer comes in that game, goes 2 innings, strikes out 4, walks 1, gives up a couple of hits, gives up no runs. We'll get to him in a minute.
Yeah.
Then Santos comes in, 1 inning, 1 hit, nothing else. And then Jimmy Lambert, a run unearned, strikes out 3, walks 1, gives up a hit in 2 innings. Whatever, they end up, dropping that one 7-6. Moncada had an okay game, going 2 for 5. Eloy had a nice game, hit a home run. Yeah, that one was.
That's the thing. You put up 6 runs, and you think, well, a good chance you're going to win a lot of games if you're scoring 6 runs. It just seems the White Sox find ways to lose those games. Have been doing that a lot the last couple of seasons. There's no lead that is safe ever.
Yeah, and they only lost by 1. And I think the stat, I don't remember the exact stat, but in 1-run games this year, they're terrible.
Yeah, and I've heard that thrown around, in years past, where I'd imagine if you turn around those 1-1 losses and you turn those into wins, and you say you've got 25 1-run losses.
Yeah.
And if you turn around, a half of those, or 2/3 of those following season, your record, changes drastically. And I just don't know. Like you said, I think maybe it's just time, basically waiting for the off season so that these guys can get that reset, because in season, it's just not going to happen. It's become painfully obvious that this team is going to be the same team for the entirety of the season. Rick Hahn and his address to the media after the trade deadline, and when last week, when all these comments from players that had been traded away and had left the organization had come out and made some scathing remarks towards the organization. Rick Hahn kind of had to come out and do damage control. And you get the we got rid of some of the guys that were the problem, and to the culture of the organization. And I think it was you that said, I could see this team maybe, even though we dealt away some of our best pitching, and we've got some obvious even bigger holes than we've had before, I can see this team kind of maybe turning around and blowing their opportunity at a high draft pick. But and it looked that way for the first few games after the All-Star break.
If
Or
Luis
after the
Robert
trade
had been
deadline.
there versus the Brewers, there's a possibility that they don't, that they take 2 of these games, because they only lost by 1 run, 3-2 and 7-6. So
Right.
Move to the next one. They lose 3-2. Yohan Moncada hits a home run. Goes 2 for 4. Jesse Schultens goes 6.1, and he's he's looked pretty good. We get him for nothing from the Padres. Um, and, thinking that he's just going to be some filler arm in Charlotte. And because of, injuries to starters on the MLB club, and then Davis Martin then going down with TJ, and Nate Fisher, the other offseason pickup, not really doing a whole lot. Jesse Schultens ends up pitching how about this, quote unquote, meaningful innings. Because at this point, nothing's really meaningful. But he is pitching meaningful innings for this team because they do need somebody to eat innings.
He's gotten much more of an extended look than any of us ever expected he would.
Yeah.
And he's handled it quite well. So, no complaints.
No,
on the cheap.
Yeah, for what I expected from Jesse Schultens when I heard that we signed him, I am more than happy with what he's done. 6.1, 3 runs, 3 walks, 5 Ks. You take that 9 times out of 10 from a guy that you didn't expect to put in any meaningful innings whatsoever through the year.
How many quality starts has White Sox pitching staff gotten?
Oh my gosh, I haven't looked.
There you go. That's a quality start. That's a quality start.
Yeah, it is. I haven't looked. That's going to be something that I'm going to look up right now because I'm really curious.
I feel like there have been a lot of 4 and 5 inning starts.
Yeah,
so
a lot of that.
If you can't get to 6 innings, you can't even get a quality start. So it's I'm gonna guess it's far and few between.
All right, let's see here. Filtered by Quality Starts. Quality Starts. White Sox are more or less middle of the pack, 18th with 39 quality starts. You want to hear a really strange
stat?
Number
than I thought.
And I guess you can you can explain this away. The Rays have 38. They're one below the White Sox. But you could explain that away because they do the opener thing a little bit more than most clubs. Let me see here. The one I was looking to see. Yeah, the Mets are one ahead of the White Sox, or they're tied with the White Sox at 39. The Rangers, good old Dane Dunning, and friends. Dunong, they're at 52. Number 1 in Major League Baseball this year in quality starts with 61. Your Minnesota Twins.
No kidding.
Yeah. That's kind of a strange one. The Mariners, 63 and 54. It's going to be really close if they make the playoffs. They're going to scratch and claw their way in if they get into the playoffs, but they're second with 58.
Okay.
Yeah. First National League club. This one's kind of funny. San Diego Padres, 55. That's pretty rough. If they got 55 and they're that far behind in the division, that's kind of a head scratcher.
It's an indictment on your bullpen.
Yeah, that's pretty awful.
And probably on your offense as well.
100%. Yeah, a bunch of those guys have underperformed. Now, the Braves and the Dodgers, the Braves are at 42 and the Dodgers are at 41 in quality starts, which is actually, surprises me about the Braves. Not so much the Dodgers because they've had some starting pitching injuries and stuff. And technically, I guess the Braves did as well with Max Fried being out and Soroka being hot garbage for a while. And I don't know if you saw the stat line the other night for the Charlotte Knights game. They got 3 hit by Mike Soroka in Charlotte. 3 hit. They had a double from Xavier Fernandez, and then 2 singles, one from Lenin Sosa
I
and
really
one
like that guy, by the way.
Xavier Fernandez.
Yeah, I really like his game.
He's fun. But I mean, to be fair, like he's not as useless with a glove. Or he's not useless with a glove, but like he's a little bit better with a glove than your mean Mercedes was.
Well,
You know?
he's unpolished, but I mean, he's also just made his way up to AAA recently.
Well, yeah, he played there last year. Let's not act like he's some young prospect here.
He's not. You're right. I'm not saying that, but there's something about him that tells me he's still got a step. Well, I shouldn't say. We all know he's got a step or two to take, but I don't know. Just a little bit that I have seen of him, I feel like the continual development is coming. The continued development will happen.
Yeah, I mean the
Just
guy's never not hit. The guy can hit. It's just defensively.
Yeah, there's something to be desired.
There is something to be desired, and he's hitting for the year. He's hitting 285. He's got 11 home runs, and he did start the season late. He started the season, I want to say, like a month behind everybody else. He just hit his first home run in Charlotte yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah, it was either yesterday or the day before. But yeah, I mean the guy's always hit, and then James Fegan mentioned in his like one of his spring training articles that when he would hear that sound off the bat, it was all he'd turn around and it'd always be Xavier Fernandez. And the guy hits the ball hard, and there's certainly something to be said for that. I just don't know what at this point of the state of the organization where he lines up.
Well, let me ask you this. Would a bat first defense lagging behind backup catcher be a bad thing to have on this team?
No.
I mean, if Caro turns out to be the guy that people are hoping for, and he can turn out to be, let's just say a top 8 or 10 catcher in MLB at the MLB level. I won't even say he's going to be like some superstar, but let's put him in the top third of baseball at some point in his career. Could a guy like Xavier Fernandez, who's bat first, be the type of guy you could see in a backup position helping a team with a catcher who's more well-rounded as a starter?
I mean,
how do you feel? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, he could, but like he's, like I said, the guy can hit the baseball. I just don't know if he's going to get if he's going to warrant enough at bats in Major League Baseball. And the quote that came from I think it was Scott Merkin the other day, saying that Oscar Colas looks more and more comfortable week by week, day by day, and it's like, duh. Imagine that that a rookie is gonna feel more comfortable if he plays every day. Weird.
Yeah, progress. Yeah, and he's actually getting the playing time.
Yeah,
that's the thing. We do this to rookies in the White Sox organization all too often. Guys come up, they play every third day, they ride the pine, interest wanes. Imagine that a guy might actually continue his development when he's playing on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to seeing it. I mean, we're at this point we're just kind of numb to the whole thing. But it's like when you hear it thrown out in when you read it in print, it's just kind of one of those things where you're just like, man, this organization, man, just drives me up a wall. Let's get back to this. So we got sidetracked by the quality starts. So we're gonna.
Sorry, we did.
We're gonna flip
back. Get back to the series.
Yeah, I mean something that realistically is unimportant because this team is going nowhere.
Hot garbage.
Yeah, straight trash, homie. So Freddie Peralta made the White Sox hitters look stupid all day long on Sunday. They lose
He's
seven to
been known to
three.
do that to a lot of teams.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
the only guy
He's been
apparent.
pretty solid the last couple of years.
Oh no, for sure. And like to be fair, like the only guy I think on the White Sox that had like really seen Freddie Peralta more than a few at bats was Moncada, and he went 0 for 4. So, um, yeah, not really a whole lot to talk about here. You had I think what was it, 2 RBI single from Andrews, and yeah, I mean there wasn't really a whole lot to go on. You know how well Elvis Andrus has been playing lately? Like pretty much feels like he's just been on fire for like the last like 2 weeks. He's still batting 226. That tells you how badly he was playing for the first 3 months of the season. That he could be as good as he has for the last couple of weeks, and he's still hitting 226 with a 608
I
OPS.
had that same thought when they were talking about him like that on the broadcast. Oh, he's really turned it on as of late. And I went, okay. And this is, we're getting this, it's about the same time as last season where he turned it on for, a couple of weeks and everybody was like, Elvis Andrus is the answer to the White Sox problems. Sign him
Yeah.
to a long-term fat contract and keep him around forever.
Yeah, it's just like he's exactly what they needed to go on a run last year, and guess what? They still did not go on a run.
Oh lordy.
Yeah, so his OPS plus this year, even after what he's been doing lately, is 68. So
68.
yeah,
Woo wee.
yeah, that's for the layman that happened to be watching or listening, that is 32 below league average.
The average. That is.
No bueno. So
I'd love to hear from all those fans right now that were, bring Elvis Andrus back. And I'm not usually one to do it, but I will happily tell you, told you so.
yeah,
Told you so.
I mean, I have thought about that as well. The issue being with that about laughing about that is that I wanted Lenin Sosa and Romy Gonzalez to fight it out, and Romy Gonzalez is out for the rest of the year. Just had surgery on his torn labrum, and then Lenin Sosa, he's putting up, he's putting up decent numbers in AAA, but nothing great. And
nothing that really jumps off the
missed some
page.
time. So
Yeah.
like, do I really have any sort of soapbox to stand on and talk down to anybody else? Because it's not like my guys have really done anything. Romy got injured. Lenin also, had some time off, and with this time in Charlotte where, you hit the ball and it just keeps on going. I think he's got 16 home runs, which is great. But
Definitely doesn't translate when you get up to here, though.
it does not. And
60, you can probably cut that number in half at the cell.
I mean, to be fair, as far as the park factors in Major League Baseball go, I think they're like second behind Great American Ballpark for home run, for like the percentage that the park plays on a home run ball. They're like second behind the Great American Ballpark. I'll have to find the stat for you and show it to you, but
No, and I get that, but we're talking about how they compare against other MLB ballparks, and I don't think there's a MLB ballpark that compares to the bandbox that, uh, Charlotte is. I mean, that's it's
well, if
the
it's
ball
going to
flies
be
out.
any one of them, it's going to be the Great American Ballpark or guaranteed rate.
Yeah, I get okay.
You
All
know,
right.
so
I mean,
or
but we've
Coors
seen it
Field.
over and over again. It
Yeah,
looks like it looks like hitting golf balls with an aluminum baseball bat, the
for
way
the
the
other
ball
team
flies
it does.
out
Yeah, I'll give you that.
there.
I mean,
Well, I mean, come on. You got Justin Jershely down there coaching a team full of,
I feel so bad for him.
has-beens. I mean, you can't look at that Charlotte roster and go, they should be winning baseball games because
No.
we got a bunch of 55-year-old dudes playing outfield over there that are like
Hey,
old
we
and
got
broken.
Travis Swaggerty and Victor
Oh, I'm
Reyes
sorry.
and
Sorry.
who else do we have? Adam Hazley and I mean, yeah, it's all guys from other teams that are quad A players. They did let Stephen Piscotty go, so
They did.
we no longer have him to kick around. Yeah, I mean that team's roster, and like from the get, I kind of figured it was going to be a fairly rough season, but at least they had a little bit more starting pitching to start off the year there. And then
Well, that's
Davis
another
Martin
thing.
went down, and I'm trying to remember who else went down. John Park went down, and then the heck's his name? It's not. I'm forgetting his name. Something with a JT, JP, PT Willis. It's not PT Willis. I forget what his name is. But there's another guy with a two initial name. He got injured as well. He's on 60 day. Jonathan Stever, 60 day. Sean Burke, if I didn't say him. Yeah, I didn't say him yet. So, I mean, like we had all that starting pitching that we were assuming in AAA was going to be putting in work in Charlotte and giving this team a fighting chance for the first time in a couple of years. Like 80% of their starting rotation was out before opening day.
JB Olson is the name you're trying to come
JB
up
Olson, there he is, JB Weld. He did not
with.
weld the pitching staff together,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So I mean, they're
Nick
Johan
Padilla's seen
Dominguez.
some time off.
What's that?
Nicholas Padilla's seen some time off. Jonathan Stever's seen some time off. I mean, okay, yeah, I get Nicholas Padilla is not exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, he usually, I mean, he's also relieving most of the time, but
That's what I mean. He's not exactly a starter. Most of the time, he's coming out of the pen. But
yeah, he's an
yeah,
opener if anything, if he does. But I mean,
right.
regardless, and then not that not that he's put up any numbers whatsoever in Charlotte this year, but they released John Park the other day,
Right.
and I was like,
They did.
this
But we
team
signed
has
Davy
no
Garcia.
starting pitching. Yeah, we did sign Davy Garcia. That's true. That is true. And Johan Dominguez just made his way. I think he made his. I think it was his second start the other day.
Yep.
So I mean, there are some interesting things going on in Charlotte, but I mean, you don't have room to get rid of guys that can take innings, even if they're not putting up good numbers. That pitching staff has been like, thing is you can't even judge by the numbers that these guys are putting up because every single one of them is overworked. Every single one of them. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
when one guy gives up 5 runs, well, you got to put somebody else in. And when you put them in, and it's their 56th appearance of the year, and it's the beginning of August.
Right.
Like how can you get mad at them for being slightly fatigued? The guy's
Yeah.
arms
I
ready to
mean,
fall off.
how do you not expect a plethora of these guys to go through a dead arm period?
Yep.
That lasts the entire last 3 months of the season.
Yeah, it's tough.
uh,
Like I want to be, when it comes to the White Sox minor league system, I like to be positive, and I don't like to call out negative things because these guys are still guys that are under development. That
most of
said,
them.
yeah, that team's been
Most of them. They've
really,
got some retreads.
it's been really difficult to watch. But yeah, I don't know. The White Sox go and play. They're playing the Northsiders for the next couple of days, and they lost 2 games to them earlier this season. Now they're playing at Wrigley. They don't have Jose Abreu to hit 6 home runs in a series. We'll see what happens, but I'm not expecting anything good from them.
You know, maybe Luis Robert and his spring pinky will be back. Spring pinky. I thought that was a joke when I saw somebody talk about that.
The way he slid in, he ended up catching his pinky as he went by the bag.
Yeah, I didn't see the play. I just saw that I saw somebody mention that he was out, and then I seen somebody else ask why he was out, and the answer was sprained pinky, and I thought that was a joke. I honestly thought that was an attempt at being funny, and it turns out it was 100% true. And I went, "You've got to be kidding me!"
Yeah, he caught his pinky on the way by the bag. It happens. I'm not, whatever. At this point, I don't know.
And I can't bust on the guy because he's finally been healthy for the better part of the season, and he's putting up numbers. And this is the Luis Robert we had kind of been hoping to see for a while. So I'm not going to be hard on the guy. It wasn't so much about Luis Robert getting a sprained pinky. It was just the fact that anybody, you could have thrown any name out there, was going to miss time because of a sprained pinky was what got me. Because why not? Why not?
Why not? Everything's going so well. Yeah, so next week we have a guest.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, we'll be tweeting that out, that information later on this week. I want to give him time to
confirm.
Yeah, to confirm, but we're looking at having a guest next week and a guest the week after that, and then likely one of these days here in the middle at some point we'll have another guest, and we'll be churning out content here. At Daily White Sox on Twitter, White Sox Daily at Substack.com, or no, WhiteSoxDaily.substack.com. Jeez Louise, I gotta sort that out. We have a Facebook group. We have a YouTube page if you're not watching us on that said YouTube page currently.
You're missing out if you're not, by the way. You need to go check that out. It is the best and only place to catch White Sox minor league highlights. And if you're catching them from anywhere else, it's either the affiliates themselves, which don't put out anywhere near as much as we do. And when I say we, I mean Ian. And if you're seeing it somewhere else, they probably stole it from us. So, shocker!
I didn't say anything about it yet this stream here, but I did make an appearance on Future Sox podcast yesterday, so that should come out I think in the morning. So I'm gonna be out on Dueling Podcasts tomorrow, but this will come out tomorrow morning.
Was that with James?
Yeah, James and Mike Rankin.
Nice.
So nice. That was a good time. It's nice talking some nice minor league baseball stuff. Yeah, my name's Ian Eskridge at iEskridge on the X, if you will.
The X, WSX.
I mean, why did he think that was a good idea? It's a terrible idea.
No, but you know what? If we have to change WST to WSX, it almost kind of fits, I mean, White Sox.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I've seen the abbreviation, and I just X. Like you can't.
Yeah, it's
like when you say Twitter. You know what you mean, but if somebody says X, you're like, huh?
Sounds dirty.
Dirty
mouth. Clean it up.
Dumb.
It does kind of sound dumb.
Fix it, Elon. Put it back. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
No,
I don't like to talk about my flair. Danny Miller at Danny Miller WSD, sitting on the other side from me. my better half, if you will, on this
Ugh,
stream. Eye
I don't
candy.
know about better half. I'm just the eye candy. That's all.
Yeah. So you've been
The
listening to
most
White Sox.
unprofessional eye candy on White Sox streaming services.
I mean, I'm just saying. White Sox Daily. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. You guys have a great night, and we will talk to you guys next week, if not sooner. Thank you very much, and have a good night.